Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back, everyone. I'm KJ, the host of Great Talk and Entertainment, and this is my spoiler review for Season 2 of Andor, which is now on the Disney Plus. And this is Episode 7 spoiler review. Again, if you have not seen Andor Season 1 or 2, please pause this. Hit the thumbs up button, because that would help my YouTube channel grow. Go watch all of it, come back, and let me know what you think about each and every season and episode, plus this one, in the comments below what you guys think about it. Let me hear your Star Wars theories and just how you feel about Star Wars in general. Let me know in the comments below. So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Now, let's get into it. This episode starts off in Yavin Rebel Base as we see you see the ships fly in to land. Cassian, Binks, and Will meet up again, but this time Will is more on more agreeing with Luthen, as Will has found out Deidre is the one who killed his father. Will informs that she's the one who's been attacking them. The Empire decides to go with the original plan, as Deidre is in charge of this mission. Skirrel is worried for her and the Gormans, of course. And Cassian and Binks go see a woman who can see the future and the past of a person. And we noticed this was kind of like, it was really cool. I didn't catch this at first, but I watched it again. But they're really foreshadowing to, I believe, in my opinion, this is what I got out of this, is this woman who can see the future, see the past, read palms, whatever. It kind of foreshadows to the classic Star Wars movies and stuff. And, the way she described Cassian really kind of foreshadows Luke Skywalker's leadership. It also foreshadows Princess Leia's leadership, maybe even Han Solo at the best too. And I really like that, because this is kind of like where they kind of hang out. And I would love to see the Ewoks again, but that's just me. But I like where it's kind of leading up to, obviously the movie Star Wars Rogue One, but also I like this scene because, this is the New Hope, this is kind of reminds me of that. Not like the movie or the whole movie, I should say, but more of it feels like the way they set up the background, the way they were talking, the way they were mentioning things. This is kind of like somewhat of an origin story, but I mean, if it's before, if it's before and after the prequel, it's always in the past. But this really kind of shows this was what they're building up to. This is kind of they're kind of showing these are the founders. These are the characters that, they build the path, and so the next generation can take control of it. And I just thought that was really cool. Obviously, Cassian doesn't believe her because obviously he's just worried and stressed out about this whole situation with the new Empire, which is really reasonable, but also because he's a guy that shows a leadership. Like I said, he kind of has that Luke Skywalker leadership right now in this particular scene and act, and throughout the episodes of this season. We're kind of seeing him okay, but we got to be a little bit smarter. We need to be a little bit more clever. There's so much going on. Like, we cannot make mistakes, because if you make mistakes, the Empire is going to definitely get on that. And obviously, that's not the goal. The goal is to really improve it and do a better plan. You want to be cautious to the win. And I think that's the most important thing, that their casting's trying to make people realize, like, we got to be better at this. But I think in his mind, when other people try to take charge, like Luthen, maybe he's like cautious where it's too much, but not cautious enough. He's not really playing it safe. He's getting a little risky. Maybe he's getting sloppy with the work, the plan, the ideas, strategies, because Luthen is much closer to certain people within the Empire, like Mon. She's a perfect example. Like, he's playing a political route, where Castan's kind of like a soldier. He's the one who's going out in the battlefield, and then others, of course. That's why you got Binks and Will. But see, like Binks, this is, to me, she's seeing like, okay, things have to change, and it's not getting better. But she knows that she needs to sacrifice more. And she knows that Cassin is not sacrificing enough as well. As we see, like, Will, obviously he's going based off of revenge, and he's fueled by it, which, okay, like, who else isn't on both sides of the party in the Star Wars universe, right? But this is more about, I think, the relationship between Cassin and Binks as well, is because I feel like they could be breaking up. I'm not sure. But I know in Rogue One, they hinted that they broke up, but I wasn't sure if they actually did a proper breaking up, like who broke up with who first. And obviously I believe it was Binks, but I don't know if we're at that point yet. I don't know if this is the episode for it. But this, to me, when Cassin he wants to give up, and he wants to just run away from all this. And I think in Binks' eyes, this is what he's supposed to do. And I think she's realizing, like, he's not going to become the person he needs to be. And that's what I think, too, because, he dismissed it so much. But I get it. There's they have different viewpoints of this. But that's the kind of thing you get with war. This is what you get when you have to battle a giant empire, and they don't even know, like, about Darth Vader, but they know about Palpatine. They know who he is. He's a scary man. They know it, and they're tired of living in fear. But to make that change that everybody's worked so hard, they're gonna have to sacrifice more. And I think this is more of a, like, sacrifice is coming in their personal relationship, and I think a lot of people as well. And I think it's just they're getting ready to get ready. Luther's not favored by the people. Cassin's getting ready as he waits for things to get cleared up, because at the end of the day, this is a big moment for Cassin, and I think it's very stressful. And it's very, all this whole episode is very dramatic in the dialogue again. And this is, to me, what I liked about this too. Seems like everybody on both sides has a lot to lose, but so much to gain if one succeeds. And I think this whole episode is just to show us, like, when the hero has to rise, but that also means the villain will rise. And that's the Empire. The Empire will rise above this as well, because they're not backing down, but they still have more resource. Like, they could literally burn this whole rebellious thing to the ground. And that's what Cassian is more worried about. Even Binks and so many others. Lutheran as well. Now the Empire, they're gonna bait this, and it's gonna get nasty. Like they're gonna put a bait trap, and they're gonna burn down a lot of things, and they're gonna get what they want from those spiders, the minerals, and they're getting ready for it, and this is where it's gonna get ugly about it. And I think again, if they're gonna succeed this, there's gonna be a lot of sacrifice. I think this is the next three more episodes of this all the way to the season finale. It's gonna be a big battle, or they're gonna get ready for it. But I think the next episode, episode 8, is going to be, it's gonna be destructive. But what we see in this episode, again, this is what I like about it. So much to lose, but so much to gain on both sides. But I also like the underdog story to this of, they're building resources, they're making things. I mean, they even got one of the, so much they can get. But I mean, they got some machines, they got some weapons from them. They stole some ships from them. And they're trying their best. And the Empire, even though the Empire is feeding false information, as a lot of them know, and Yalvin, they knew it, and I think that's really cool about that. And I also just feel like it's getting better. It's getting better again. As a single episode, this episode is a little bit better. It's getting better because I think the when it gets, like I said earlier in previous spoiler reviews, that I always felt like sometimes that dialogue was too long and it got a little too dry, where I think the audience, the viewers, would lose focus. But this one, they really made sure. I felt like there wasn't a lot of dryness dialogue in this one. I felt like watching this, I was listening to every word from every character, following what they were saying, watching the reaction, seeing the emotion and passion, whether it was a sadness or happiness or angry, seeing everybody on both sides, interact with each other was really cool. And it really explains, like, what everybody's plan or idea of what they're trying to achieve and how much they're willing to do what they have to do. It's going to be very interesting because I believe episode 8 is going to be like a bloodbath type episode. I think they're going to go somewhat pretty close to like Games of Thrones, but obviously not that deep, that bloody, not that gory. But I think this is where I believe episode 8 it's going to get bad, and I think these are the way they set some of these characters up in episode 7 of this episode. I believe that in episode 8 that there's going to be some characters that may be gone through death or just abandoning the team, whether they're on the Empire or the Rebellion side. Like, I don't think it matters, but I think that the harsh reality of what's going to happen, it's gonna turn a lot of people around, and it's gonna get bad. So I think this is just the calm before the storm. I think episode 8 is gonna be the most brutal one so far, and we got like what, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, so 5 episodes, I believe. And I think this is very interesting. But this episode to me just kind of put whatever characters you saw in this episode, they're either gone now. This is their episode 8. It's going to be the last time you see that character, or we're not close to some of the obvious things that happen to some of these characters and where they're at in the future part or the current time of Star Wars in timeline order. but it's really hard to tell. I can kind of see it, but it's still a little far back in the timeline where there could be some more things going on that leads up to Star Wars Rogue One, and I think that's the idea of what they're going with that, obviously. But I like this is to me, but again, they set where all these characters are going to be at, like Mon. Like she now, it's kind of looking like she's going to have to start speaking up. She may have to put her life on her line. I mean, even Luthen has brought that up before. Um, I mean, there's a lot going on with Deidre. I think either she's gonna have to, cut her husband loose because she shows one side where she's a loving wife and she loves her husband, but then there's that side of her that is so determined to complete this mission and take all the glory. And I think she wants that a certain job position within the empire. And it seems like you can't have both. So it's going to be very interesting to see where everybody goes at this point. And I kind of do. If you're a Star Wars hardcore fan like me, you kind of know where this is going. But also, you kind of just I'm not really sure yet because they're really good at when you think the timeline order is filled up. There's nothing else that you can tell. There's always more story to tell. So I just kind of learned like just to go with it. But as far as now, they're not really close to Star Wars Rogue One. But I think there's a straight path now. I think you can see it a little bit more clear in the views of the eyes. That's what I get out of it. But other than that, this is really good. I also just like I think all the cast members just did an amazing job. And I love, like, this planet that they're on, you see in the older Star Wars movies, like when, like, Empire and New Hope, all that. You see it. And what I'm mentioning is the graphics back then and the graphics now. I like how it feels like it reminds you of like how George Lucas shot Star Wars with the technology back then, but you can also see that the technology and the computer editing, all the CGI, the VFX effects have came so far. It's really good, but they really kept it. They made it feel like, and I'm just talking about the background of it. It reminds you of it. It feels like the way they built that studio or set, but they also just made it more with today's technology, and I liked it. I really liked it. Just it kind of feels like they didn't use it, but I know they did, and I don't know how. The best way I'm trying to explain it is they mixed it up really well or mashed it up, and I really liked it. It feels like reminds me of it, but it's also in an up to date with the cameras and special effects. I think that's really cool. And the most important thing, I just like that it just definitely felt like a Star Wars place, Star Wars film, show, whatever. But it felt familiar for people who don't really follow all of the Star Wars, and I think that's really cool. That's a hook. That really hooks people, is with the background, and I thought they really done well with that. So I just want to put that one out there. If I had to give this episode a 1 out of 10, I'm definitely going to give it a good solid 8. It's really good. And to me, this episode is just the setup for episode 8. And I think, now we're going to start seeing characters get killed off in this series as we get closer to the end. But maybe not the main characters, but maybe the side characters for sure. So that's my review, y'all. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Please, please, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you, guys, and peace